Never to be utilized. And then you may, in fact, you probably will go one way and then recede and go back again, and because you're testing the boundaries of consciousness. You're testing the boundaries of awareness, and that's perfectly acceptable. That one day you could be vegan, and then one day eating a burger, and you're like, God, I don't know. I just feel like I need. And I'd like you to, in that chewing of the burger, I'd like you to just go, what is this? And what is this actually? Do you get that? See how mindfulness and ethics start to come together? And we're really looking for you to take on that quality of testing yourself and feeling the discomfort, the unease, the craziness of it all, that I have higher ideals, but I don't live them out all the time. Fair enough? So it's supposed to broaden your awareness. That's the idea. Now, is there anything about killing before I move on? About supporting life? Yeah.
I have a rub right now with euthanizing a cat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I've been
play it.
going back and forth.
Yeah, play it. Feel the friction. I'm not even in any way suggesting that there is a right and a wrong answer here. I mean, you could play so many different sides of that fence with regard to euthanasia now, of an animal or a loved one. I mean, you could play so many different sides, but I think it's worth playing it out. Instead of just going as a doctrine, you can't kill. Because that would always leave you in a state of friction. So you have an animal that's been with you for 14, 15 years, and it's in a great deal of pain. It can't control its bowels, perhaps foaming. At the mouth. And you have this vow. You see what a vow gets you? A dictum gets you? What's it get you? It says you can never what? But then you have another vow over here. Here's the rub that says my vow is to protect all beings from suffering. See the rub? What's the right answer? Is the rub worth the exploration? Yeah, I mean, that's where the heart of your journey is in there. And then making a decision and living with it. You're human. Fair enough? And anyone who says there's a right answer and a wrong answer, they're clinging, they're attaching to doctrine. And they're missing the larger goal of what we're up to, which is awareness. Fair enough? Yeah. Good.
Just real quickly, at that opposite end of you don't harm others, you take it as a doctrine.
Yeah.
And you have to have that doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
I did that with an animal.
Mm-hmm.
He has to live out his karma.
Yeah. And that's a very common notion within the doctrine of certain traditions, that everything must live out their karma regardless of the pain that they're in, that everything that's experienced is their karma, which is absolutely opposed to or even if that tradition were Buddhism, that's actually opposed to the tradition of Buddhism, that there's not just, karma has 5 different qualities. So it's a misunderstanding, a misapprehension of the tradition itself. It's a common mistake, though. I've had tons of questions over the years about this, where people come to me and they say, well, so-and-so Rinpoche said this, and I'm like, okay. So-and-so Tulku said this. I'm like, what about you? Which is where the work is. What's your relationship? Take it all in. Take different people's perspectives on all this. And people do have different perspectives. But finally, the decision it's yours. It doesn't matter if the Buddha even said it, frankly. Yeah? It's your relationship. Where you are in your level of awareness. In your relationship, all that's being encouraged here is allow it to grow, and it'll grow if you'll play the friction. If you'll play the rub, that's where you'll grow. And there isn't any other growth, actually, at a certain point, except in that friction. At a certain point, you've read all the books you're going to read, man. And it's going to be like, that's going to like, God, I've heard this before. And now the only remaining growth is in the rub. Fair enough? And you can only hear it from teachers so many times before it's all up to you, which is really where the ball belongs. No? I mean, you've got to become your own guru one of these days. Fair enough? So grow up. That's what that's the tune we're playing. That rub in between what you've always been told and what's doctrine versus the way that you actually play this tune of like, now it's my responsibility to decide. Fair enough? All right, so stealing, come on. Everyone knows that. I'm not saying that you're perfect, but you know it. What's the opposite?
Generosity.
There's two different answers to this. One is protecting other people's property. Protecting other people's property. And so one of the ways that you can protect other people's property is not just like protecting it like as a vigilante or something like that. That's not what we mean. But maintaining their property and cleaning property. So one of the easiest ways that you can do that is by being in public places, because some property belongs to all of us. And so that's parks, toilets, public restrooms. I know people are like, oh, there's the rub. See that? Is he really suggesting that we would clean a toilet or a sink in a public area? And the answer is what?
Yes.
Because this belongs to who? Yeah. Huh?
Would you do that?
I do.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I clean poo-poo and pee and everything. Because if I don't, I'm not testing the boundaries. If I see poo on the seat, and it's not my poo, my poo's good, but other people's poo is bad, right? So, come on. Come on. What's the big deal about taking a paper towel, maybe a couple layers deep, right, and leaving it well for everyone else? Come on, it's about growing awareness. It's not about cleaning poo. Cleaning poo is just the friction between the awareness, between protecting other people's property, right? And you're going, no, I don't do that. Actually, yeah, I do that.
No, I'm just wondering if the rub couldn't be just having the awareness of your own reaction to it.
Oh, that is part of it. Yeah, Joan's
Yeah, I know
right.
it's part of it.
You grow as far as each of you individually, where you are right now. What we're talking about is pushing the boundary of your comfort. Or perhaps in this case, pushing the boundary of your discomfort. Fair enough? Because we're growing awareness. Come on, we're letting go of self here and taking things personally here. You get that? That's what's at stake. Well, this is individual freedom. You're freeing yourself from your own constraints. That's the idea. And then the hugest aspect of not stealing is absolutely the reverse, which someone mentioned, which is giving. I mean, just abject giving without a sense of reward, helping to be of service. People who are doing that, you know how much again, think of the concentric circle theory. People who are doing that, how much do you think they're stealing from other people? See, the further you go in one way, the less likely that you're actually going to go to the most obvious possibility, which is don't steal. The more you're giving, the more you're generous. Tell me how it is that you're going to do this number at a store. It's not. You see how it's not going to happen? Because your mind, your story about not suffering and not stress is what you've been working on. So the more you work on the detail of one area, the less likely that you'll be harming yourself and harming others by working on the most crude aspect of all this, which is not stealing. Does that make sense? Okay. Questions about that? Okay. Moving right along. Lying. Slander, gossip, harsh speech, embellishment. All in one big category. What's the opposite of lying? Don't say truth. That's how the truth could mean a lot of different things. But at least a commitment toward honesty. Your particular expression of honesty. And that will grow over time. Don't say the truth. That's just, and there isn't one. But your commitment toward honesty, that's huge. Otherwise, you get yourself, if you say the truth, you get yourself into weird positions. Like at the mall with your husband or your wife, and she's trying on the jeans. You know what happens. She comes out, hey! How do these look? And if your commitment is to the truth, what do you say? Well, I'm not supposed to, I made a vow, and I told the Dalai Lama I'd never lie. And next thing you're like, your ass is huge. Nothing personal, just keep it about. I mean, that's what you see what you get stuck with?